Welcome to Marketing. Grab some coffee and let's talk about what's working in marketing, who these strategies are designed for, and how to be customer centric while we do it.
Hey there, this is Leanne with Marketing. Today I'm joined by Ethan Edwards, and he is an expert in so many things, among them branding and coffee. Ethan, will you tell us more about your background so we help understand your lens for the conversation?
Yeah, so I got my start way back, 2004, in journalism, and then I moved into television marketing for mid markets across the U.S. Worked in a bunch of different places, and then I moved over to the agency side of advertising and really focused on strategy with two different agencies. And I've worked with big companies, small companies, founders, CMOs, marketing directors, and just bring a real different background to marketing and branding than I think a lot of people do. But also, I've started my own brand, and now I'm in the coffee business, and it's crazy to see it from the other side of the glass, from what founders and marketing directors normally see from a perspective of working with an agency. Now I'm on the other side of it, trying to do both things, and it's absolutely crazy. But yeah, I'd love to share more about that. But obviously, we got more to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that we can pull on from just that intro, and I think that that's one of the great things about this podcast is that everybody shows up with such a robust background that they really have some really interesting things that are worth listening to, frankly. So I'm gonna kind of like let you tell me what is the thing that like grinds your gears or coffee, and that like you really need people to understand about marketing strategy.
Really, for me, it's the use of the word authenticity in marketing and strategy right now. It's used a lot. It's being overused. I think a lot of brands don't really understand what authenticity actually means and the transparency that's supposed to come with it. And I think they're misstepping and using it as a crutch where it should be used as a really powerful tool. And it bothers me when brands try to use it and don't completely put everything behind it that they actually could.
Yeah, and I get why. I think that there's definitely some reasons or some ways where, it feels like to the uninitiated, like you can just press a button and like turn it on or off. And there's also like the risk associated with it, I think is really scary for some people. How Tell me more about how you think it should be done.
Well, it really needs to be evangelized across your organization, your staff, your leadership, your stakeholders, investors. Everybody needs to be behind this because it really does come with a set of risks that most brands aren't really used to facing. If you're going to be authentic, you need to be able to have open dialogue with your consumers, with investors, with everybody that is seeing your marketing and advertising. You should be able to show them everything. It's not just now you're not doing this choreographed thing anymore. You're actually opening up the doors and saying, "Hey, we are who we are. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. Let's bring it into the way that we're showing ourselves." Most brands aren't built that way, so you've really got to either break down a lot of barriers to build that up, or you would have had to have been doing it from the beginning for quite a long time. And some brands are built that way, but most are not. And to jump on a bandwagon without doing the work comes across as very superficial. And audiences clue into that, whether they do it on a scale where they can actually see it, or whether it's more subdued and it's happening just mentally behind the scenes. But there will be that thing that seems off. They're trying to be authentic, but they're really just being superficial.
Yeah, and I think that it really is felt. It's that uncanny valley that
Yeah.
consumers really, really they're like, "Something about this just isn't landing." Or conversely, it's not a mystery, it's just tone deaf, and they're like, "You're not cool like that. You never like, why are you coming in, your, legacy brand that is very typically conservative with their messaging or language. And then all of a sudden they're trying to say like Gen Z slang. Like it's just a mismatch
Mhm.
in tone
Yeah,
and consistency.
yeah, it would be as if Apple all of a sudden decided to become a authenticity brand, and they're absolutely not. They're secretive in the way that they do things. They're quiet in the way that they acquire companies and everything else. They're not an authentic brand. We appreciate them because they're highly polished and they are always raising the bar and always trying to be the best of the best and have the absolute best products available. There you can probably count the missteps Apple has had on 10 fingers, and they've been around for decades. Uh, but there's other brands that really lean into the authenticity and they're rewarded for it because I think Gen Z and now even Gen Alpha, their is it's very highly attuned compared to the boomers. And you can see that in the way AI has come across, in the way that they're always skeptical of what they're seeing, and they will be able to tune into that a lot faster. Just for an instance, you'll show an AI video to somebody that's Gen Z and somebody that's a boomer, and the boomer goes, "Oh, that looks real," and the Gen Z is like, I don't. Did that really happen? I don't know." Like, "Oh, wait a minute. No, look. Between the two cuts of this video, there's not an exit sign in the right place. That's an AI video." They're looking for ways and to understand how they might be like fooled or tricked. And I think it's just a way that people have been brought up in the internet age is that scams are abound everywhere and left and right. They're fighting for attention. Advertising's fighting for attention, marketing's fighting for attention, the algorithm is fighting for your attention, and they're trying to suck you in every which way, and they've become resistant to it. Not so much the older audience, but so becoming authentic brand, you have to take on that risk, and you can't half do it. You can't say, "Hey, we're going to be an authentic brand, and we're going to put all this work and energy into it," and then one thing gets off track a little bit, and you go, "Oh, wait, no, let's pull all that back, and we're gonna close ourselves in again." That's just going to do more damage. So if you're going to step out into that light and start doing that work, you have to commit to it. Otherwise, it's going to backfire on you very, very quickly.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I think the part about it that I see as the strongest indicator of success when it comes to branding is the consistency metric, right? Because
Yeah.
consistency is credibility, is trust, is know, is think of first. And so when you have that waterfall of, emotional stepping stones, when you are inconsistent with your level of authenticity, it is felt.
Yeah.
And people pull back because they're like, you don't trust us. We don't trust you.
Well, and is your brand looking for trust? You're gonna have to have a sit down with yourself as a marketer, but also with your stakeholders, and really have that discussion. Are we looking to build a brand where we are outwardly looking and asking for people's trust, or are we just trying to set an established brand and we're just trying to go out and have our slice of the pie? I mean, there's nothing wrong with not being an authentic brand. Not all brands are designed to be that way. Not all business models are designed to lean into that. It's something that you can't just jump on the bandwagon because it sounds like fun for now, and it sounds like it's the cool new thing to do. And then 5 years down the road, like going, "Oh, okay, well, that was fun. We're going to go back to this, or we're going to go in another direction." That's it either has to be all or nothing. And it's okay if it's nothing. It's okay if you sit down and you decide, it's like, look, authenticity is great, but to really do that, we're going to end up having to do all this work and it's not going to be worth it. You have to look at your bottom line and go, "Hey, is being an authentic brand really going to help generate new sales, generate a long-term investment?" You got to look 20 years down the road. Will it be worth it to be this 20 years from now? I think with AI coming out, that more people are answering yes to that because they see this lack of authenticity coming from AI content generation and ideas and everything else because it's just cannibalizing what's already there.
Well, and I think that one place where people get this really confused is there's a difference between edgy and authentic.
Mhm. Yes.
Edgy is
A lot of
edgy.
people will say, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, no, you're right.
But like for Liquid Death is an edgy brand,
Mhm.
but they're not authentic. I mean, they will uphold to their brand ideals, but I don't think Liquid Death would come out and say it's like, well, we're going to be completely open about where we get all of our ingredients from and how we, like, somebody else packages their water for them. Somebody else produces it for them. They're not, raising the levels of production quality of water and how it's created. They've got a third party vendor that's creating that for them. They're basically a marketing agency and ad agency that produces water on the side. That's how they operate. So they're a very edgy brand. They push boundaries. That's their whole job, is to like, how can we make this even more crazy? Can we do kegs of water for pregnant women? Yes, we can do that. Let's have a whole freaking campaign all around that. Can we sell elf makeup that's made for goth and do little casket compacts with makeup in them? Yeah, we can do that. Can we partner with Yeti and do a coffin cooler? Yeah, we can. But that's not authentic. That's being true to your brand, and that's being on brand and making sure that that strategy sings wherever you put it. But if they were truly being authentic, they'd be talking a lot more about, hey, let's talk about where our water is coming from and the process that it goes through and the type of ingredients that we're using. They do a little bit of that, but that's not what their brand is.
It's so interesting that you bring up this transparency in this way of like brand identity. And so kind of like it how much authenticity does your ideal customer really even care about is a very important aspect of this, right? Like water's a commodity. It's a
And
commodity.
it's hard to, like, people have their favorite waters. People will swear by, Fiji water, or they'll swear by whatever water brand that they've gotten used to and they like the flavor of. And it doesn't matter necessarily where it comes from. Sometimes it does to them. It's like, oh, well, I know this is a good place that the water is, but as long as it's reverse osmosis, it should be fine, right? As long as it doesn't have microplastics, it should be fine, right? So there's lots of things that go into that to bring up a brand that stepped away from authenticity. In my space that I work with, coffee is Blue Bottle. They came up as a very authentic brand, and Starbucks in a way too. I can tell you about that later. But Blue Bottle is this high specialty quality coffee, very sleek design, very smooth brand. But they were very, very good at saying that this is where our coffee is coming from. This is the standards that we are living by. This is like, if you're drinking our coffee, you know that it's going to be absolutely fantastic. And here's why. Here's all the reasons how it's being produced, where it's coming from, everything. And they were very open about it. And then Nestle put a lot of money into them and partly bought out the company. And now all of a sudden um, they're doing instant coffee. they're they're showing up in grocery store shelves, which was not necessarily the original model. For fresh coffee, you shouldn't buy it at the grocery store. You should buy it online, e-commerce. You'll get it shipped like a week after it's been roasted. It's fantastic. If you get it from the grocery store, it's there for 3 months. That doesn't fit with the way that they were being about being an authentic brand, and they had to step away from it because they grew. They grew bigger and outside of the audience they originally had, that, you're right, did appreciate the authenticity of it. But in the coffee world, there's a huge part of the population that doesn't care about the authenticity of it. They don't care about necessarily, it's like, oh, this coffee is growing on this slope of this mountain in Peru. Like, they don't care. It's like, did it come from an ethical source? Yep. Okay, good. I'm going to drink it. That's all. That's as far and deep as they go. So to grow and to be a bigger business and to, support this idea of growing bigger, sometimes that authenticity gets left behind, and it's a really hard decision and balance, because then it can hurt you later on. For instance, we'll go back to Starbucks. They came into the market as this consistency brand. And originally, they only sold coffee beans. They didn't even have a coffee shop. And then they had the coffee shop in Seattle, and they expanded from there. But they came across as, this is going to be high quality, really good coffee that you can get on any corner in America. And what they forgot is the experience that comes with their brand. And so they weren't really an authenticity brand, but they were a consistent brand. You go into a Starbucks, you have this certain feeling, this certain emotion, this certain ideas like, I'm going to go get a treat at Starbucks. It's going to be good. The people there are friendly. The service is fast. It's efficient. It's all clean. It's a really nice space to be in. They all have the same wood tones and the same that green that really resonates with the brand. It's all there. And then they forgot about that experience somewhere along the way. And they just said, let's get coffee out to people as quickly as efficiently as possible. So let them go through the drive-through. Let them order on mobile. Let's let them do all this stuff. So all of a sudden convenience took over and their brand fell behind. And so all of a sudden convenience was king and not necessarily the brand. And they lost that experience. And now they're trying to get that back, but the damage is done. And so how do you balance that as you grow bigger, as you get to a point where you have all these things that are pulling on you? How do you stay true to your brand? And it's a hard thing to do. The biggest of them, like Starbucks, has problems with it.
Well, and how is your business model and your value proposition changing, right? Because the Blue
Right.
Bottle value proposition in 2002 was very micro, very like
Mhm.
bougie special coffee. I remember the lines out the door in San Francisco because it started where I grew up. Um,
Yeah.
and it was wonderful. And it was, one of the few places, and because it was so novel the way that it was being done, it was immensely popular. And then, the once again, the value proposition adjusted because it
Mhm.
just was, now it's like quality coffee, which is subjective. Um,
Right.
and the same for Starbucks. Like Starbucks, the consistency is huge, right? Like that like you go to Starbucks because it's productized. This is a this, the venti is a venti. You have to learn our language. We are making you do things our way. This is our way. And it is consistent no matter where you go in the country. That is major for brand reinforcement. But then the business model includes more of the like food items as well. And it's also a finance company. If you don't think that Starbucks is a finance company, then
Yeah.
you don't have the app where your money is loaded for them to hold on to while,
Yeah.
you reload
And
and
they're
reload and
investing that
reload.
money. They're not necessarily going, oh, you can take it out whenever you want it. No,
It's
no, they're
gone.
yeah.
It's not.
They're using that elsewhere.
Yeah, they're making their interest and you're not. Like, it is not in your best. It is a brilliant business move. They are
Mhm.
academically right for doing so. But if you're
Which is why
someone,
they push the mobile app and ordering and having people go through the drive-through. I mean, the drive-through line there is worse than trying to get through Chick-fil-A. I mean, it's just
or even
speaking
like
of
pickup, like, I mean,
yeah,
I don't know. I still am an avid Starbucks fan because I know my order and I can just send it wherever and then there's one of them, and also if you travel a lot and you go on a lot of road trips, if you have like a sensitive diet, it's hard to explain to people what you can and can't have because not
mhm,
everywhere understands or cares, frankly. So for me, for someone like me, where like I can only have like coconut milk, um, it matters a lot. There's one in Florida, there's one in Wisconsin, there's one in Nevada, there's one all over the country, and I can just get my order there. Um,
and it's again, convenience is
yeah.
king, and if that's what your brand is gonna be about, then you've got to adjust your messaging and adjust what you're saying to people so that you lean into that, but they weren't. They were trying to be the old Starbucks, but behind the scenes, they were something different. One brand that has been consistent since their conception that is still consistent to this day is Costco, and they are an authenticity brand. They live their authenticity. They treat their employees extremely well. It's almost impossible if you want to try to go get a job and see how hard it is to get a job at Costco because those jobs are coveted. You go there and you'll see the same people over and over again because those people don't leave their jobs because they really enjoy working there. And I've talked to 3 or 4 of them at multiple Costcos around the country. And I go, what is it that is so nice about this place? And they go, because they treat you well. There's never any surprises about what your expectations are, and it's consistent. And they live up to their brand. They don't spend money on advertising. They don't uh, do things differently at different stores. Everything is generally the same. Some of the products vary by region, but the hot dog is the perfect example of that. The hot dog and the drink deal at Costco has been the same price for, I think, 15 years.
Yeah.
And they tried to, somebody in a meeting, and I think this leaked out almost on purpose. This is how authentic they are. They had a meeting with the CEO talking about, like, well, we need to find a way to raise the hot dog prices because the money of meat is going, like, all the costs are going up for everything that goes into it. And the CEO said, you need to find out how to keep it at the current price. And he said it in not so nice of a way. Basically said, if you can't figure this out, I'm going to kill you. Like, that's how serious they are about staying true and authentic to what they are. They are a discount warehouse. You're going to find the best prices there or the best quality there. And they have a whole other business model behind the scenes. But again, they're very open about it. Like the pricing, like the secret pricing at Costco, if there's a star on something, or if the tag is green, or if it ends in a 9. You don't think that they're putting all that marketing out there for people to go and go, oh, I know a secret to make sure that I know that I'm getting the best price at the right time, or there's only so many of these left, or this item is leaving. So I think that Costco is an extremely good example of staying true to your brand over decades and being open and authentic with your customers and about what you're doing. If I'm leaving a Walmart and somebody says, hey, can I check your bag for your receipt? And I'm like, why are you bothering me? But Costco, you line up in a nice little orderly line, and you expect to have somebody sit there and count everything that you have to make sure that you're not taking anything out that's not supposed to be taken out. It's weird that you put that trust in them, but not in Walmart. So again, I think that is their really excellent brand work over time, and being very transparent and very authentic about what they're doing.
Yeah. And I think it's communication and culture, right? It's consistency, communication, and culture. Where is a time where someone just misses the point entirely? Like does this level of authenticity resonate? Like how would like a B2B SaaS be? Like, does it matter for them? Like let's kind of like pull strings on where this fits and where it doesn't fit.
I think that's an excellent place for this to grow. I think, especially in B2B and especially in tech, that is something that is absolutely missing. And I think if you can resonate and have the right message and truly be authentic to what you're doing to your customers, that's going to have massive impact, because what you really are looking for as a B2B business is trust. And it's extremely hard to get. So the more you're willing to be transparent and open about who you are and where you came from and why you do the things that you do and why you've made the decisions that you make, you can go out to them and say, hey, look, we may charge you 10% more than our competitors, but this is why we're charging you 10% more than the competitors. Here, let me pull back the curtain. Here's how the business actually works. Here's where the competitors are cutting corners. Here's where we're not cutting corners. We're going to show you why we're not cutting the corners. We're going to show you the factory floor. We're going to show you our entire process from beginning to end, so that you understand where the value is and what you're getting. If you can kind of do those things in a B2B space, that is hugely powerful, because people are looking for trust and ease, and basically they're trying not to stress about the decisions that they're making with the vendors that they're using, or that the companies that they're using to work with, because it is so hard these days to find somebody that you trust in those spaces and build a relationship with over time, that you don't have to think about. I don't want to have to think about the quality of the product that I'm getting from my vendor. I just want it to be consistently good, and I want to have trust that that's going to happen. Well, you can do that one of two ways. One, win that client and then keep them for 5 years and then just keep that consistency happening and never have any problems. Or you can peel back the curtain and say, look, this is who we are. This is how we operate. This is how we do things. We're going to show you the things that nobody else will show you and why our industry is the way it is and educate you. And then come to us because we've done the work to peel back the curtain and show you how the sausage is being made. You may not want to see it, but at least we're going to be honest enough to say it where our competitors won't.
I mean, if I agree and disagree, right? I think that like one of the things in the mindset that's holding people back in B2B SaaS from revealing too much is the this is our competitive advantage, this is our intellectual property, this is a promise we
Mhm.
can't make, or this is actually going to, we need investors and we don't want our investors to be like thinking that there's problems or that we're unstable. I think I see both sides, right? Because I think where I've seen the concrete example that comes to mind was a brand that what Apple Effects just gave us some balloons. Um, I remember a brand that had like kind of like a cheeky mascot, which are fun, but there's like a million of them. Like give me,
Mhm.
some critter that's got some opinions. Um, but where they had amazing copywriting to support their brand was establishing the problem that was being solved by their value proposition as the bad guy. And
Mhm.
so, in order to position yourself as a hero, there has to be a bad guy. And in B2B SaaS, there's not some, there's not some monocle guy with a cane that's like gonna like, there's not a real villain. The problem is
Right.
the villain. And
But
so,
finding that villain can be authentic in itself. You can be honest about what the villain really is versus what your competitors are saying. Your competitors are saying, well, it's you're missing these features. And if you just had these features, your problem would go away. But if you go to your client and say, look, the real villain is you're losing time and energy and you're stressed out about the product that you're buying, and we're going to make it easier for you, there is a certain level of authenticity in that and being honest about the space that you're in. So there are ways to play off of it that are a little bit softer than, say, a CPG brand or a car company or something like that. In the B2B space, I think even being a little authentic is going to get you a long way because so many of the brands aren't.
yeah. Yeah. Or it's cringy because they're authentic about something that's just irrelevant and that doesn't resonate with your customer. Like,
Yes.
and
Yes. Seen that a lot too.
back to the critters, right? Like that's cool that you have a cool critter mascot, but like that doesn't help me do my job better. What I really need is the emotional tie down of the frustration that I'm experiencing and you telling me in no uncertain terms how you are going to authentically and transparently fix it for me. That's all I want.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's that easy, but it's that hard.
We did that with it was a fleet management company, and they offer a product like a lot of people offer the product where you plug in the sensor into and it's a GPS tracker and it tracks mileage and everything else. And they have a nice templated screen that you can go on and a dashboard that serves everything that you would normally need. They weren't special other than the fact that they had really good customer service. And we help them tap in. It's like, okay, well, what's the real authentic truth here? It's like, well, we help you manage your fleets better than everybody else. So we're saying, no, you're trying to avoid having that one really bad driver that makes everybody else look bad and is a bad example for all your other drivers. That's your bad guy that you want to focus in on. Let's make him the centerpiece of your messaging. That's when somebody goes to bed at night and they're managing a fleet of vehicles, and it can be 5 vehicles, it could be 150. They're worried about that one driver that is causing them problems. So let's bring that to the forefront and let's poke fun at it a little bit and have a little bit of fun with that villain. But that's the thing that people are really worried about. And if you can eliminate that driver, or not necessarily eliminate that driver, but make it so that driver has to behave and that there's no way for them to take a 2 hour lunch or do donuts in the parking lot or drive 70 miles an hour in a 45 zone. If you can bring all that back with a really easy to use dashboard, then that's going to make that person's life 10 times easier because it'll have a cascading effect. That person will behave. Everybody else will realize I can't get away with this kind of behavior. This guy can't. I can't either. All of a sudden, you now have a fleet that is much better managed for a small menial cost. And again, that's being authentic to the person and saying, hey, look, we know you're losing sleep every night because of this one guy. Let's put a name to him. Let's call him out. Let's say that he's bad and give you the power back to be able to get control of what's happening with your fleet. So they're trying to get that authenticity in the B2B space. Like I said, even if you do it from a soft angle like that, and you're not going hard in and going like, we're going to show you exactly how our technology works so that you can feel better about purchasing it. Can't do that. But we can call out the honesty that should be called out in our space when nobody else is going to have the guts to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think that that's the right way to go. I mean, it's branding is never just, hey, let's pick some fonts and colors, right? Like that is a
Right.
surefire way to just do nothing.
To
You're
never
doing
rise
nothing.
above anything.
Yeah,
Right.
like cool. You went on Canva and you found an icon and you put some blue on it. Cool. Congratulations. You are now everybody else. Um that
At
said,
the very least, pick an archetype and stick with it.
it's
And
just,
before you start building everything else, make sure that you're married to it.
I
And it's the
mean,
easiest place to start for brands that don't exist.
the great thing is that CMOs love rebrands. So,
I need my fingerprints all over everything now.
okay.
Yeah.
I say that, but I have legitimately worked for a company that needed the rebrand, and the rebrand was the right thing to do. So
Well,
I am not against a rebrand. Um, there is a time and place where you absolutely must do that. Um, but there's also a time and place where you could just, I don't know, start off doing better.
the best time to do a rebrand is sooner rather than later because the further along you get, the more that you've built out, the worse it's going to be. And hopefully, it's something as simple as a name change. Hopefully, your brand pillars and all the strategy that you built up isn't the thing that needs to be fixed. If you're at that point, it's going to take a course correction to really in some time. That's the other thing people always forget about. It's like, well, we rebranded everything, and 3 months later, our sales haven't changed. That's not how brand works. Brand takes a very long time. It's a long game. It's a long play for it to have a cumulative effect, and you've got to be out there with proper messaging as well. You can't do a rebrand and then don't put any money into awareness campaigns and just keep everything in performance. That's you're not going to have a whole lot of effectiveness there unless you've pulled some kind of really amazing social media stunt where you get a bunch of natural attention from it, and all of a sudden you've got this organic growth. Yeah, great. You lucked out. That's not usually what ends up happening. You really have to put a lot of time and energy behind a proper rebrand. Take a look at Tropicana when they did they did the rebrand, and they literally took the orange off of the branding, and it tanked immediately. Their sales just dropped horribly. So that's one side is rebranding can have an immediate negative effect. It almost never has an immediate positive effect. And that's just kind of the way brand works. You're going to have to always push a giant boulder up the hill and try to make those right turns at the right points to be able to keep it moving up. But the moment you let go of it, it's going to crush you.
Yeah. A small evolution over time is much better than a jarring change because people are not built for change. They are built
Yeah.
for consistency. So we've kind of talked through like authenticity and and how it builds credibility and trust, and kind of like pushing or connecting the two dots based on the rebrand concept is, once again, it's the consistency and trust and credibility that people come to expect from your brand based on how it presents itself to the world. We talked about where it's right and wrong and what kind of authenticity matches or doesn't match. Are there any other examples where someone might miss the point, or, anything that you think that we've left off?
No, I think you had a good point there with credibility, because if you're going to try to switch to be focused on authenticity as a brand and you've made that decision, again, we talked about having to do the work first, but we didn't really dive into what that work is. And that is building up credibility. Are you already living up to those standards? Can you do even just a workshop and talk to all your stakeholders and go, hey, look, here's the pillars that we're going for with this new authenticity branding. Are we already doing this? Because if we're not, then we're not able to launch it yet. We have to be doing these things first so that we can point to them and show that we have credibility to be able to show that we're being authentic. So if you don't have those things in place, you may either have to scrap it and pivot, or you may have to spend some time building that up over a year or 2 years before you can go, okay, now we're at a place where we've lived this. Now we can actually show people that we've lived it. A good example of that is Jaguar. They they went out and said, we're going to be authentic. We're going to stop making all these other cars, and we're just going to go and make these 2 electric vehicles, and then that's going to be it. And we're going to basically redesign the way cars are being done. And this is going to be amazing. And it just flopped. Everybody's like, what are you doing? You don't have the credibility to do this. Your cars were not reliable from the get-go. Everybody liked them because they were Jaguar and they were British, and they were these quirky vehicles, and some of them were really cool and beautiful and amazing, but it was style over substance. And then all of a sudden you want to be about substance. You can't. You don't have the credibility for it. And they were already on the downturn, and I think they tried to make this pivot too hard, and it didn't work. Another example of this is IHOP trying to say they're going to change it to IHOB, and we're going to be about burgers now. And then they're like, oh, no, that was just a joke. You didn't have the platform to be able to do that and have that credibility and that space to do it. Another good example adjacent to IHOP is Cracker Barrel. We're going to clean up the way that our brand looks, and we're going to simplify everything and be more open to a wider audience and a wider customer base. But they didn't have the credibility with that new customer base to bring them in, to then ignore all the people that were used to the rocking chairs and the old classic feel when you go in and you just want a chicken fried steak. They made too hard of a pivot, and they weren't honest about who they were to begin with to be able to get where they wanted to go. And they didn't put the work in building up that credibility to go, okay, hey, everybody, we're going to make a huge change. This is who we are becoming. We can make this change because we've already built up credibility in these areas. Now you can follow along with us and you can trust us because we've already built up that credibility and trust. They didn't do any of that work, and they just thought they could flip a switch and get credibility, and it doesn't work that way.
They didn't talk to their customers. You got to talk to them. And by doing the work, let me just explicitly spell this out for the uninitiated, but everyone that listens to this knows by now. The work involves market research. It involves conversations that are recorded, that are scientifically done with specific questions and specific types of listening to people with money that buy the stuff that you sell. And because you have no brand if you have no ICP. If your ideal customers hate what you're offering, then that's who it comes back to. That's where the buck stops, is the people voting with their dollars, is the people saying, yeah, I liked Cracker Barrel because it was doing this thing for me, or because I wanted this from them. And now they don't do that, so I don't like them. Or if you try to shift, whether it's up market, down market, mass market, if you try to shift your customers without doing the research to see if there is a resonance and alignment and relevance between what you're offering and what your customers want, you're going to miss the boat entirely. So, explicitly said, conversations with human beings in real life and enough to be statistically significant. If you don't have a large enough total addressable market, then maybe you shouldn't. It's just that easy.
To give them a little bit of, I don't want to completely,
No,
crap
but
on poor Cracker Barrel, but to your point, like
but I'm in LA.
at
Don't
some point
market
they
LA
probably
shit
saw it's
to
like, look,
Cracker Barrel.
sales, right, but sales are dropping off. We need to do something to attract new people and bring in a younger audience. Here, let's talk to this new possible audience. But you're right. I don't think they ever took enough time or energy to go research their current audience well enough to go, what are our pillars that we don't know about? Obviously, there's this long history and they completely ignored it. Simply sending out 10, 15 people to different Cracker Barrels across the country and do some exit interviews of diners. You've got this beautiful space to do it in of the little store that you have to walk through to leave. Offer them a free gift card and go, hey, I just want to ask you a couple of quick questions about your meal. Why do you come? Do you come here often? Go through the questions and interview them right there as they're leaving the restaurant. That's probably when they're going to be the most honest with you anyway, instead of trying to build up a whole giant. But they didn't even do that. They didn't do the bare minimum of why are we who we are to be able to go, okay, now where can we go with that?
And to nerd out over this is there's so many ways that they could do this without having human conversations just because of the data that every company
Yeah,
now has
that's very
access
true.
to in a mass market where they can household stuff. They can look at the community in which they've invested in that property to hold their restaurant, and they can look at the frequency of transactions based on customer, based on credit card number. There's so much data where it's not that it's unforgivable to make a miss, but there are so many ways to prevent it, and it should be robust and enriched. And I think that that's why there's such a big push for enriched leads right now in B2B SaaS. But, so to kind of like bring this back on how to do things authentic, authentically, um, is going to be matching with your customers and relevance, and that there's a wide world of AI, different data tools, different algorithms, different data models, different insights into your customers, as well as the simple work of showing up and being like, hey, do you like this?
Yeah, the I think the hardest thing for a brand, if they're trying to be more authentic or weave authenticity more into what they're doing in their strategy, you're going to have to look for the most honest, truthful data sets that you can find. Don't buy into this AI artificially generated audience data that's not going to. You're going to have to go and do a lot of groundwork and talk to some real people and get them to be real honest with you about what these brands are and really understand their viewpoint. Because as you know, your brand is basically, I'm going to steal a line from my old boss, is your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. That you need that honesty for an authentic brand to really grow. And if you're basing it off of data that you think is truthful, but you've gone about it in a way that doesn't get at the actual crux of your customers' true feelings about you, you're building a idea based off of a bad foundation. And you can't do that when you're trying to lean into authenticity. You're going to misstep. And we've seen a lot of that lately. And I think it's just they've gotten real excited about fancy data models, but they haven't gone and talked to real people.
If we're not going to go down this tangent because we're going to kind of come to the last two questions. I just want to interject this for the listeners. If you need to see an example of a B2C company that used their data in a way to evolve to hold space for all of their audiences, Taco Bell is a great case study. And they talk about it at conferences even. So like there's available information that I would suggest you look into. Um, but part of the reason is that they're keeping up with the future. So we're gonna kind of jump into a big question, which is the future. Where's marketing going? Where do you think it should go? Do you think that those are the same?
I think we're already seeing a lot of it. And it kind of hinges off of what we were just talking about with data models and AI. And I've heard a lot about artificial audiences and um, building out these ideas that you can do research without having real human contact. And I think there's going to be more and more that happens as more and more data becomes available. Third party data is still out there and it is floating around quite a bit, and it's not being locked down like everybody wanted it to. And I think AI is kind of taking focus away from that. I think the kind of data that you're going to be able to get from people using AI more and more is going to be unbelievably critical, because I think because having a conversation with AI is different than how you're searching through Google, all of a sudden you're going to understand behavior a lot more. So I think a lot of this is going to push into the AI world, but I think there's going to be even more crave from both B2B and B2C people for that. Okay, we've gotten all we can out of AI. We still need to talk to real people or have some sort of interaction with real people. That authenticity is then going to become this unbelievable next level thing, where, as in, oddly enough, back in the day, that's all you had was, hey, we're going to do phone interviews. Like, that's what they did back in the day before they had any other data. Now we've got all this data available to us, but I think that's going to be the big thing that people are going to crave and go after as marketers, is going like, okay, all this data is amazing, and AI can filter through it and give us some insights and be able to and narrow stuff down, but what's really going on, what's really the truth, and the truth of what is actually happening behind the scenes is going to be something that people are definitely going to put a premium on.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Last question. What is a question someone should ask you, but they don't?
How do I use AI responsibly when it comes to marketing and growing a brand? And how is using it going to end up hurting me? And I think when you're talking about authenticity, it's easy to get in conversations with ChatGPT or Claude or Grok or Copilot or whatever you're using. It's saving people so much time and energy, but where should you be leveraging that? And then where should you be falling back on gut feelings or conversations or first party data, or like where should that be kind of interjected versus, because there's so much is it's like, we'll just throw it all at AI and let it deal with it. And there's times where that's appropriate and there's times where it's not. And I think not enough people are going, where shouldn't I be using it? Where should I really be investing my time and energy to really solidify my brand or help my brand grow or help my business market better? Where is that space? And I think that the answers are nobody really knows yet. And AI is moving so quickly that it's hard to nail down that answer. But there are some general spaces that I think you should be focused on. And when it comes down to it, a brand should, especially for founders like me, a brand should be still personal. It should still be based on you somehow, some way. Obviously, a brand should always be customer facing and always based on what customer needs are. And that should always be a paramount of what you're going after. But there still has to be a story behind why you started this and why you're interested in it and why you want to bring it to the world and why you want to share it. That personal piece of it is still incredibly important. I think we're going to end up starting to lose that with AI, because people are going to go, I want to start a business or I want to grow a business. What's the best way to do it? And they forget about who they are and why they're doing it personally, and or why their organization even exists. Why are we providing the service? What is our mission behind it? We don't have to necessarily be a mission-led brand, but what is our purpose here? And I think a lot of that gets lost when people start thinking about how AI is going to progress.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, you know, right now, the way that the decision matrix works with AI is to look for patterns where maybe like someone who knows would just be like, oh, you're reading too much into it. Like, that's not really how it is. Or conversely, you're not reading enough into this. And I can say personally, it really, maybe it's the chip on my shoulder, but it really grinds my gears when I'm an expert in something and someone would rather ask Chat GPT than just ask me. Um, I get offended. I was like, no, 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 no. ChatGPT has never done what I've done. It knows a lot. It has access to a lot. But here's where I know your audience in a way that this computer is never going to. And so
Yeah.
that's my
ChatGPT can't tell the difference between good data and bad data,
it just has
or
data.
yeah, it just has access to everything. So it all kind of gets put into the pot and mixed together. What you get out is mediocre. It's never going to be. And there are ways to push it, and there are ways to go, hey, look, did you ever think about this one little nugget over here that sounds interesting in my head? Are there other people that find that interesting? And then all of a sudden, if you get to go down to a rabbit hole, great. But to ask somebody, hey, what's your opinion? And they go, no, 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 never mind. I'm going to go ask ChatGPT. We are on the road to disaster if that's going to be the way that we look at it. And I think you're right. I think there's too many people in too many high positions that are going to use it as a crutch instead of a superpower.
Absolutely. And ChatGPT can't tell if you don't understand what it's saying, right? And that's where we
Yeah.
need humans that can see body language and that can like see the hamster wheel turning in their peers, is that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And ChatGPT can give you an answer, but that, or Claude or Copilot or whoever, but that doesn't mean that you are learning or comprehending what's being fed back to you. And that part of accepting a message is a 50% of the communication equation. It's not just the like stuff set out, it's how it's received. And ChatGPT can't check for understanding the same way that a conversation can.
No, and it's really bad at using um, anecdotes and stories and really good storytelling that's really impactful in the point that you're trying to make. And, as a strategist, we use storytelling all the time to be able to convince people of our point of view. Because, like, look, if I can tell a story that is applicable to this person's experience, they're going to understand it so much better. But if I'm asking ChatGPT to explain it to me, it's going to be cold, it's going to be distant, it's going to be very matter of fact, and like, here's the points I'm trying to make. And if you don't get it, I don't care.
Or it's going to be a cheerleader. It's going to be like, that's a great question.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
They have been trying to peel that back a little bit, but you're right. It has been too much of a cheerleader. It's like, oh, that's fantastic. I can't believe you thought of that. Good job on like gold star. Unfortunately, I think all of that, it will continue to get better and better and better. There are discussions of where AI will end up going, but I think at some point we're going to have to understand that, one, it's not going anywhere, and two, you're going to have to really use it as a superpower to show how you can be more authentic, to land the plane and bring it all back, instead of using it in place of your authenticity.
Yes. Yes. It's a tool. It's a tool. That's all. It's just a tool. It's just fancy code, guys. It's not a supreme being. It's not whatever Iron Man's Jasper or whatever system is. It's just AI.
Yeah, it's reality TV. It's not real.
Yeah. All right. Wow. I feel like we've covered so much. If someone wants to keep this conversation going with you, where can they get a hold of you? What is the best way?
Best way, you can reach me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty accessible there. My whole name is out there, Ethan Krause Edwards. Look me up. I have a nice little wave emoji by my name so I can stand out. But look me up on LinkedIn. I love meeting with people and chatting about these ideas. I do it quite often. Or I'll go ahead and pitch the coffee website. Go to pretentiouscoffee.co and drop us a message there. I'm always answering emails, and I'm on TikTok a lot, unfortunately, but that's just the name of the game these days when it comes to an e-commerce brand. You have to be visible in all places, and TikTok is a huge place to be visible.
Hey, you know what? I love TikTok. I think that that's absolutely the right move. So if you're looking for Ethan, you can find him on LinkedIn. You can find him on his website. You can find him on TikTok. There's lots of places. You can find the coffee all over too. I would suggest you order straight from him if you can. But that's
Website's the
my
best way.
website's the best way. If you have questions for me, you can always find me on LinkedIn. I am chronically online. And then I can also be reached at info@markigy or KIGY.com. And if you could support me by liking, subscribing, leaving some like really kind reviews, that always helps me too. Thank you so much for listening. And yeah, just hit us up if you have questions.
This has been great. Thanks so much for